My name is Clara, and I am 32 years old. I am sharing this story not for pity, but as a warning, a roadmap of the mistakes I made so that perhaps another woman might avoid them. Sometimes, we become the architects of our own sorrow, and that is a truth I learned far too late. I now live with the constant ache of losing a man who once loved me with all his heart. My story with my husband, Ethan, began in the simple, hopeful days of our youth, right here in the United States. We were not just a couple, we were best friends. We navigated life together, our conversations lasting for hours, our walks seemingly endless, our dreams intertwined. I supported him through his college years, my faith in him unwavering. He was a hard worker, and eventually his dedication paid off with a good job. Our families met, saw the love between us, and gave their blessing for our marriage. Our wedding was modest but filled with genuine happiness. I felt like the luckiest woman alive. My life felt complete. Soon, our joy multiplied with the birth of our son, who is now a bright 7-year-old and the center of my world. During those early years, Ethan worked tirelessly. Exhaustion was his constant companion, yet he always made an effort to be a devoted father and a loving husband. But he had a flaw, a short fuse. His temper could flare up in an instant. He would raise his voice, but he never laid a hand on me, never crossed that line. His anger was a sudden storm, quick to arrive and quick to pass. That was his weakness. And I unknowingly had my own, my pride. A stubborn, destructive pride. I refused to feel inferior or weak in his presence. I was determined to show him that he couldn't control me. This was the seed of our undoing. With every argument, my response was the same. I would pack a suitcase and flee to my family's home. There, I would present a tearful, one-sided version of our fight to my sisters. They, in their fierce loyalty, never questioned my role in the conflict. They would call Ethan, berating him, defending me without knowing the full story. Back at our home, Ethan would be left in stunned silence, bewildered by how quickly I would abandon our home instead of trying to resolve our issues. I never wanted a divorce. My goal was to make a point, to make him feel the fear of losing me. I would even weaponize the word, saying, "If you want a divorce, just say so." I didn't mean it, but those words, repeated in anger, were like small cuts, slowly bleeding our marriage dry. Then came the day I went too far. I provoked him with insults, calling him weak, telling him he was nothing. In a final, terrible taunt, I said, "Go on, hit me if you're a real man." That day, something shattered in him. His expression darkened and he slapped me, just once. Then he pointed to the door and told me to get out. I was paralyzed with shock. I never imagined he would raise his hand to me. Crying, I ran to my family. My sisters were furious. "This is the final straw," they declared. "We're calling the police." Lost in my pain and a twisted sense of victory, I agreed. I thought I had won. Ethan spent the night in a police cell. The community looked at me with sympathy, seeing me as a battered victim. But in the quiet corners of my heart, I knew I was not innocent. My words had been a constant assault, my pride a relentless weapon that had chipped away at his dignity. The next day, his family brought him to my parents' house. He looked broken, his eyes red and swollen. He knelt before me, apologizing profusely, begging me to withdraw the complaint. He confessed he had lost control, that it was the first time he had ever been violent. His mother wept beside him. His sister pleaded with me, "Please, Clara, forgive him. This isn't who he is." Looking at his shame and pain, I saw for the first time the true extent of the damage I had caused. I dropped the charges. We returned home, and a fragile peace settled over us. He was gentle, attentive. He brought me small gifts, helped more with our son. We shared moments of laughter, and I allowed myself to hope that we could heal. But I hadn't truly changed. My pride was still there, lurking beneath the surface. A minor disagreement over finances was all it took. The anger flared, and without a second thought, I packed my bags and left again. I was at my family's house when a friend called 2 days later. "Ethan is in the hospital." A cold dread washed over me. I wanted to rush to his side, but my sisters held me back. "Don't fall for it, Clara. It's a trick to get your attention. If you go, he wins." I listened to them. I suppressed my concern and stayed put. I didn't call. I didn't visit. I didn't even ask how he was. He was hospitalized for a week. After he was discharged, I remained with my family, waiting for the call for him to beg me to come back. The call never came. Instead, a letter arrived. It was from the court. He had filed for divorce. My hands trembled as I read the words. It felt unreal. My pride whispered to me to remain strong, to feign indifference. I called him and said, "Fine, let's get a divorce. I can't live like this either." I was secretly hoping he would protest, but his voice was resigned. In court, my desire to hurt him was overwhelming. I told the judge I wanted half of everything, but his response shattered what was left of my heart. He stood and calmly addressed the judge. "She can have everything. The house, the car, all the money. I just want my peace." In that instant, I felt so utterly small. The man I had tried to break was offering me everything, while I had destroyed the one thing that mattered, our family. My pride had won the battle, but lost the war. That was in July of 2009. Before I continue, I just need to ask, where are you listening from? Knowing that my voice is reaching someone, that my pain might have a purpose, gives me the strength to go on. After the divorce, I was surrounded by hollow congratulations. My sisters called me brave, told me I deserved better. But at night, the silence of my childhood bedroom was deafening. My bed felt vast and empty. I was desperately lonely, but my pride wouldn't let me admit it. Weeks turned into months. I kept waiting for a sign, a message, anything. But Ethan had moved on. He never looked back. One morning, the final door slammed shut. A friend called to tell me he had remarried. The photo I found online confirmed it. There he was, smiling, holding the hand of his new wife. A wave of nausea and weakness washed over me. I stared at the image for hours, at the life that should have been mine. My sisters, the same ones who had urged me on, were now building their own happy lives. They had husbands, children, homes, and I was the family tragedy, the sister who had it all and threw it away. The whispers started. "She thought she was too good for him. Now look at her." My pride, once my shield, was now the poison killing me from the inside. My son became my only solace. He looked so much like his father, and his questions were like daggers to my heart. "Mom, why don't we live with Dad?" I couldn't bear to tell him the truth, that his mother's arrogance had shattered his family. So I would say, "Your father is busy," knowing he wasn't busy for his son, just busy building a life that no longer included me. He still sent money for our son every month, a constant, painful reminder of the good man I had cast aside. I tried to find work, but I had no marketable skills. My life had been dedicated to being a wife and mother. My confidence was gone, replaced by a deep sense of uselessness. I felt invisible, a ghost haunting the edges of other people's happy lives. In my town, a divorced woman is an object of pity and scorn, and in my case, the scorn was deserved. Even my own family's attitude shifted. The defenders became the accusers. "You had a good man, Clara," they'd say. "We tried to warn you." Now they sit with their husbands, my story a cautionary tale they tell with a shake of their heads. My nights were filled with dreams of the life I lost. In them, I was back in our home, Ethan on the sofa, our son's laughter filling the air. Then I would wake up to the cold reality of my parents' house and the weight of my regret. I have often thought of calling him, just to say I'm sorry, to finally admit my faults. Not to win him back, but to offer him and myself some form of peace. But I'm too afraid of the silence that might follow. So I write this story instead, as a plea to other women. To every wife who thinks walking out is a show of strength. To every family member who offers advice without understanding the consequences. To every woman who values pride over peace. Please learn from my bitter lesson. Don't let your pride shout louder than your heart. Don't let a momentary argument become a permanent ruin. Talk, listen, and fight for your marriage if it is worth saving. If a man is cruel or abusive, you must leave. But if he is simply human, flawed and imperfect like you, then try to find grace. Try to remember the love that brought you together. I made my mistakes. I spoke words of poison, used pain as a tool, and forgot that marriage requires patience and forgiveness above all else. Now I am alone. To the woman listening to this, I beg you to be wise. Your heart, not the opinions of others, should be your guide. A strong woman knows when to speak her mind, but a wise woman knows when to hold her tongue. A strong woman knows when to leave, but a wise woman knows when to hold on tight. I learned this wisdom the hardest way possible, through loss and silence, and through the sad eyes of my son who misses the father I drove away. This is my truth. I had a home, a husband, and a love I did not cherish. And I lost it all not because of him, but because of me. Thank you for listening. I pray my story helps you protect your own home, because pride will not keep you warm at night. But love, respect, and forgiveness just might.